All right, Simon. Now listen, I may be ruining our friendship coming up here
Uh-oh.
by visiting you.
Okay.
Look, he's coughing. You can't even handle this.
It just I suddenly got nauseous. That was
Oh my gosh. Jeez. Excuse me. I told my wife, I said, I got, you know what? This year, my vision for this year is a lot of new experiences, different things. I'm curious,
Yeah,
I said, I've never been to Alabama. It's probably time for me to come see Simon. It's probably time.
I love it.
Yeah.
This will be
So,
awesome.
boy, I texted you. I said, when's a good time to come there? And you're like,
Oh,
ah,
well, I didn't know you were serious.
what do you mean? I'm a serious type of guy. What's the matter with you? I'm like,
I mean, why would anybody want to visit little old me?
I actually was looking at flights last night for the springtime at some point, like
Awesome.
the Nashville. You told me to fly into Nashville for something
Yeah,
like this.
there's three airports that are pretty much equal. Nashville, Memphis, and Huntsville.
Yeah.
Huntsville is closer, but oftentimes you can't find the good deal. So I tell people, flying to Nashville or whatever. My
Yeah.
wife was shopping for flights last night for somewhere, and yeah, unfortunately, where she was going, Huntsville was like $200 or $300 more,
Yeah.
and I was like, well, that stinks. But
Yeah.
it's so weird, Darian, because my wife was trying to fly to Salt Lake.
Hmm.
Big airport, shouldn't be a big deal to get flights there from Nashville or Memphis or whatever. And but the thing is, it's like those flights are three times the price as a flight to LA.
Yeah. Crazy.
Like, well, wait a minute. I'm going hundreds of miles further to get to LA, costing you that much more fuel and whatnot to get to LA.
Yeah.
Why is the ticket? I don't understand.
I don't get it
I don't
either.
I don't understand airline math.
Airline math is just whatever it needs to be to the
Yeah.
airlines. That's called their math. Yeah.
Well, it would be so exciting for you to get here
Ah,
and
man.
for us to just like, because honestly, I have not explored Nashville. I have not
Mhm.
explored, Memphis or anything like that. So
Sure.
it'd be cool for you to get here. We can just like explore, one of these places, and then show you the homestead, obviously,
Yeah,
and
I'm
hopefully
coming to
Eeyore
see you,
doesn't
man.
eat you.
I'm like,
Hopefully Eeyore doesn't.
I'm not worried about that. No, I really thought about it. I was like, you know what, this should be the year for me. And I live in a great spot where it's very easy for me to go from Denver to Nashville. It's
Yeah,
fairly
nice.
close. So I was like,
Yeah.
all right, this is want to make this happen. And there's my expectations though, Simon, before I jump into. I have an expectation. I need to
Okay.
be fed. All
All
right. I know
right.
you're making all these 2-hour meals. I need that.
Yeah. 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 I
Okay.
will. I will feed you. I will feed you. I mean, I'm too embarrassed to take you out to any of our restaurants,
No,
so
I don't
I'll
want any
feed you.
low
I
level
will
food.
feed you.
No, I used to live in a small town in Washington. I'm done with low level food. It's like,
Yeah, it's tough. It's really tough.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, and we'll have some special times.
Yeah.
Listeners,
We'll leave that
don't
up
think
to
it.
the
Don't worry about it.
listener's
You'd make that
interpretation.
whatever you think it is. Probably is not, but if it is, that's fine too. Like,
Yeah. Oh, I don't know why. I guess just having special times made me think of this. Did I send you a photo of a gift from a guy who I've become friends with? But he owns a edibles company.
no, no.
Yeah, so I go in there. So we use a couple of his products.
Yeah.
One of us uses a full spectrum oil for anxiety,
Yeah.
and they find that very, very helpful.
Hmm.
I need help slowing my brain down at night.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'll take a gummy,
Yeah. Of course.
to help me sleep, and they really help. So anyway, I show up and I ask him, hey, do you have any of such and such flavor? And he's like, well, I have this discard bag, and he pulls out this big old Ziploc bag full of gummies that just didn't meet the criteria, the aesthetic criteria,
Okay.
right? They
Yeah.
like maybe they're at the edge of the thing or whatever, and so
Sure.
anyway, but like a huge full bag, it's got to be like $150 at least worth of gummies,
Great.
and he just hands them to me. He says Happy New Year. Like, it's
Okay, these are the
fantastic.
special times, people.
Yeah. So special times happen. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. For me, I always do is like I need to like help. This is gonna sound really strange, but
Mhm.
my ritual, my Friday,
Yeah.
ritual is I do it to
Yeah.
be less productive. I know that
Mm.
sounds really strange. I just like this is I'm not trying to pump myself up, but I like to accomplish things. I enjoy
Yeah.
working and stuff, but it's hard to turn that off for me.
Hmm.
So it allows me to like be completely worthless for an evening.
That's
And
beautiful.
that is good for me because I just want to turn the thoughts off of being productive. I know that's a very
Yeah.
opposite thing for a lot of people, but I just need to like not be thinking about, oh, I should finish this lecture or do that. Just be like, no, I
Yeah.
just want to laugh really hard for no reason and
Yeah.
text people and put a tunnel in there and go, hey guys, it's on.
I love that. Most of the world, like you said, is like, trying to figure out how to be more productive.
Yeah.
And you're trying to figure out how to be less
It's
productive. And
true, man. It's true.
I
I
love
want to
your
be less
stoner
productive with
mentality.
you. When I go there, I want to be less productive.
That's the
But
best way to think. I mean,
and eat.
yeah. Yeah.
Like I have a very emotional relationship with food when I'm high. Like it's extremely deep. Very
That's
deep.
really funny.
Yeah. Like it's almost a teary thing. Like I get so
You just
emotional
love
about eating.
food so much.
Yeah, like I start talking about it and it's like a loved one. I'm just like, man, this is so beautiful.
That's
Like,
amazing. That's amazing.
that's the thing for me. So get ready, Simon. We're gonna work it out on text. You're like, I didn't think you
Yeah.
were serious. I'm like, what? I'm like,
But, people say things all the time.
who
I
does a
say things all the
podcast this
time.
long and not serious about stuff? Like,
I, you know, I've had one person serious about me my whole life, and it's Shannon. And sometimes, I mean, even my own mother is kind of like, meh, you know.
questionable. It's
Whoa.
like,
Yeah. Uh, but even Shannon, I mean, Shannon's like, sometimes she's serious about wishing she wasn't serious about me. So I mean,
well, I'm serious about this
yeah,
friendship. I talk about it regularly to a lot of people. And my wife is very aware of it. She's always
yeah.
like, "This is awesome." So I said, "Yeah, I think spring, March, April-ish, I don't know." I was like, I want to nail something down and I want
I
the
love
the
it.
worlds to collide in person.
Yeah. Over the holiday we went down to Gulf Shores, and when it's warmer, it's a big tourist trap
Yeah,
kind of a thing. But anyway, I don't know if you love the beach, but maybe we should
I do.
make our way down there
I do love the
because it's
beach.
some beautiful white sand beaches down there.
Yeah.
I consider
Roll.
myself a white sand beach.
You literally are. I swear every time too, the hair is looking very nice, Simon. I
Oh,
have to
thank
tell
you.
you, man. It's just
Thank you.
flowing. See, I'm a complimentary friend. I'm like,
You should see my bed head with this hair right now. I mean, it is. I woke up the other morning and Shannon looked at me. She's like, "You have this real Albert Einstein thing going on right
yeah,
now." And I was
yeah,
like,
I
"Yeah,
agree with
yeah,
that.
it's
Yeah,
it's
yeah. Well, this is actually a great kickoff to 2024. We've been doing this a while.
yeah,
We're doing what top three uh movies or shows of 2023, our choices and worst ones as well.
yeah."
Interesting.
Why were the worst ones so much easier than narrowing down the best
Really
ones?
interesting.
Well, I mean, yeah,
It seems like
I
a
I get
Simon thing. You're just like,
I get
I
so
know.
disappointed. I get so disappointed. I always have I'm such an optimist,
Yeah, I
and I'm
can
always
tell.
just
Yeah.
like, well, I always just have high hopes for things,
Sure.
and then when your optimistic expectations are not met, it's like, well,
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
life isn't worth living. I don't
Oh
know.
my God. Okay, what's number one on the worst list for you, Simon? You go first.
Oh man, the worst list. So many things.
So many,
Yeah.
so many things.
Um, Okay, I just had this up on my phone because I didn't want to forget things. I will
Yeah.
say, I'm just gonna put this on the list. Uh, I watched Kenneth Branagh's latest um
Oh, yeah.
what's it,
I know
Poirot
exactly what you're talking about.
mystery,
Yeah.
and it was the like a haunting in Venice, I think is the
Hmm.
title of that
Yeah.
one. And that movie had so much potential, and that's why it's on my worst list
Mm.
because the filmography was excellent. You know, whoever was behind the camera, I didn't check, I didn't think to, but they did an excellent job. The setting was excellent. The indoor sets, all excellent. The costumes, all the characters had at least potential. And you had Kenneth Branagh and Tina Fey, who had very select moments of wonderful chemistry. Unfortunately, those select moments were oftentimes in um, at the expense of like losing the mood.
Mm.
So, you know, throwing in some like comedy and some
Yeah.
witty repartee. And anyway, it just it didn't feel natural. It felt a little jarring. And so that was and and I always just root for Kenneth Branagh. He seems
Yeah.
like a very passionate filmmaker, actor,
Right.
and I just want his stuff to be great. And he's one of those directors who seems to really consistently disappoint. Unfortunately.
Yeah, and like the CGI with the crocodile and Death on the Nile
Yeah, and
type of
Death of the
thing. Yeah, it's
Nile.
like,
Yeah,
what are you
yeah. There's
doing? Like, why
just
is this so
directorial
cheap?
decisions
Yeah.
that it's just
Yes.
like, nope, no thanks.
No, thank
Anyway, all
you.
right. What's one of yours?
Actually, I thought of you quite a bit when I was watching this. This tends to happen when I watch movies these days. But I watched Zack Snyder's Rebel Moon on Netflix,
Oh
which
yeah,
is a space opera, and honestly, it was trash. It
yeah.
was
I
a
didn't bother.
massive Star Wars knockoff. And
Yeah.
in typical Zack Snyder, the how he shot it was beautiful. It was like he shoots a beautiful looking movie,
Hmm.
very thin in the plot, and it's just. Ah. And I watched it.
Yeah.
I said, God, I fell into it again, man. I fell into this again.
I mean, that's the unfortunate thing. I think Zack Snyder, um, I don't know, artistic director,
Yeah.
even like director of photography. I think he would really excel
Oh,
at that kind of thing.
completely.
But being the actual director and being in charge of telling a compelling narrative,
Yeah.
yeah, it's just he and J.J. Abrams, honestly, both of them,
Yes.
two guys who can really thrill you with the surface level things.
Yeah.
Visual, the editing, style can create some real excitement and things like that. And that excitement can distract you from how mediocre
Yeah.
or worse that the movie actually is.
Yeah.
So they'll wow you in a technical sense.
Yes. It was like, wow, this world building, is a big world
Hmm.
building thing. And it's, space opera and the ships look amazing and all the crazy animals. But it's like at one part they're in this bar and it's literally like the bar scene from Star Wars, where it's
Yeah,
all like the different, species of aliens and stuff. I'm like, okay, this is like an overt homage
yeah,
to this. Like, come on, man. Like, at least pull me off a little bit off of the path.
yeah. Pay homage, but don't copy.
Yeah, it's a big
Yeah,
copy. And I just
yeah.
wish he would, because I love the way he shoots movies, like visually. But it's like, come on, like, get a better script. Like, the acting wasn't good either.
I
Honest,
mean,
it was.
isn't that just interesting? It's like with Zack Snyder, I just don't understand why he chooses most of the scripts that he chooses.
Yeah.
And maybe he's writing them. Is he a writer too?
I
Does he
don't know,
write some of this
honestly.
stuff?
I'm not
I
sure.
don't know either. Yeah, I don't know how extensive his role is in a lot of his films. But yeah, I mean, he's so talented. He's so
Yeah.
talented, but but not for telling a good story.
You know who
That's the
actually
problem.
completes the loop? He's like Zack Snyder, but actually has so much content, like depth. It's like I think Alfonso Cuarón. He shoots a beautiful movie, but then
Mm,
also has so much depth with it, like Arrival and Gravity and all these things like that. There's so like it's beautiful and it's
yeah,
substantial. It's like Zack
yeah,
Snyder. He's missing the part that actually makes the movie good. It's like the actual movie part.
yeah. What you said with Arrival, um, so many of the visuals in there, I
Oh,
know that they're digital composites of things,
right.
but I'm just it's so beautiful that I have a hard time
Beautiful.
believing it.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
have a hard time with Zack Snyder. It's easy for me to see that it's a digital world. He does a really good job with it most of the time, but it's easy to just look and he's making an overt artistic uh, decision that it's not it you know it just
Yeah.
it's not reality.
No.
But with Arrival, I was, like when they do the wide shots with the ship hovering
Yeah.
and the beautiful landscape and everything,
Yes.
it's like I know most of that's fake,
Yeah.
or at least composite. And but man, it just looks like they have a real ship out in this
Yeah.
gorgeous field with this beautiful fog rolling in and all. I mean, it's just stunning. It's just
Stunning.
absolutely stunning.
Yeah. And just a lot of depth, great actors in it. And sometimes you can have great actors in a movie and they just bomb it. It's like, how did this happen? But
Yeah.
it's just so good. So, yeah, I was like, all right, Rebel. When they built up Rebel Moon, it's this big Netflix thing. And there's a part two coming in April. So
Mm,
it's like, but it was just very disappointing because I just
yeah.
like the way he shoots movies. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, that's really unfortunate because yeah, it's unfortunate that if I see Zack Snyder's name attached to something, I'm not interested.
So,
I mean, that's the unfortunate part. That's just
yeah.
really it. And it's unfortunate because he's so talented and he seems like a genuinely nice person too, from what I've
Yeah.
seen.
What we should do was let's do the worst list and then we'll be positive on the back end here.
Okay, all right, all
All
right, all right. Yeah.
right. So you went let me do the next worst one for me.
Okay, all
This
right.
might be a shocker to a lot of people. I don't know how you feel about this, but over the holidays, I watched Oppenheimer and I hated it so much. Like so much.
Here's the thing. I haven't seen it because I think I will hate it. And once again, I love Christopher Nolan,
Right.
but his style of I just saw the preview and I just thought this is going to be that style of Christopher Nolan movie where there's not a quiet moment in the movie and there's just like the full score going the whole time and the hard cuts and the
Yeah.
jumping here to there, fast paced, even though it's like a slow paced scene, it's
Mhm.
supposed to feel fast paced. I feel like he does that a lot. Like people will just be standing and talking, but he'll keep that score going, keep the camera moving, so
Yeah.
it feels fast paced, even though it's
Yeah.
just two dudes, talking about something, you know. And it's just ramping up that intensity all the time. I guess that's what I'm getting at. It's like
Yeah.
too intense, too long, too intense for too long.
I'm gonna tell you,
Am
yeah.
I hitting it on?
I think you're hitting it somewhat here. I'm going to preface this though for the audience because I know there's some people who like love this movie. It's on a lot of best lists. I
Mhm.
was high when I watched this. I'm not going to lie. Okay. But I watched it with four other people. Okay. And
Okay.
I did a lot of checks during the movie. I said, does everybody here think this is a good movie? And then when I was coherent,
Yeah.
like was mostly coherent. I've mastered this at this point, but I looked at my wife. I said, "You think this is good?" She goes, "This is horrible." And then
Mm.
my dad and my brother were asleep They never fall asleep during movies. They're big movie people like us.
Yeah.
And my brother was like, "Man, this is just trash. I'm so disappointed." Like, and it was like, and Cillian Murphy's a great actor. There's a lot of Robert Downey Jr., great actor.
That
They
whole
were
cast.
boring. They were so boring
Yeah.
in the movie. And it's just like so much about Oppenheimer, I get, but like I wanted to know more about like the actual bomb part and the
Hmm.
whole thing. And it was not that much about that, honestly. Sorry, people. It's just it just was boring. That's all I can tell you. It was super boring.
Yeah, I'll go on the opposite side of that because it came out the same time and we had all the Barbenheimer
Yeah.
memes going on.
Yes.
Um, and here's how I have to preface this one. I Shannon and I were talking about it just maybe less than 48 hours ago. And here's what I said to Shannon about the Barbie movie. I
Yeah.
said with what they have to work with to make a movie about Barbie, I think they made the very best movie you can make with that.
Totally true.
And I was impressed with how much fun the movie was, with how it just felt like everybody who was involved in it just really bought into the concept
Yeah.
and just had a lot of fun.
Yes.
And you can just I love it when you can see joy coming off the screen.
Yes.
Like people who are making the
Yeah.
movie are obviously having a great time.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to preface it with that and then just follow that up with uh come on people, it wasn't very good. I mean honestly, like seriously, I mean it's not like it reminds me of 80s comedies that we kind of love,
Yeah.
but we know they're not good, like I love the 80s comedy
Uh,
girls just want to have fun.
yeah. Yeah.
Perfect 80s comedy about somebody who's uh not rich and or
Yeah.
hanging around rich people and has to win a contest at the end.
Yeah.
It's the quintessential 80s formula.
It's
And there's dancing.
definitely dancing. It's like an 80s thing. Lots of dancing.
Yeah. And it's just fantastic, but it's not good. It's fantastic, but it's not good.
Those these are
And that's
big
what I
movies right here. We're just crushing. Like
I know. But I'm always just kind of like, why are we even making this? And it brought a lot of people joy. But
yeah, I
and
actually
so
liked it, Simon. I will tell you, I'm not gonna lie, I
yeah,
liked it.
I okay, so here's a criteria that I um will judge movies by, and that is how quickly do I just stop thinking about them.
Yeah.
So this can go either way. With the Kenneth Branagh movie that I
Yeah.
mentioned earlier, A Haunting in Venice, I kept thinking about it for a long time
Mm.
because I wanted it to be good and it just wasn't. And so I spent a long time breaking down why wasn't it good?
Yeah.
Why is this movie falling short of my expectations? And with Barbie, I stopped thinking about it instantly.
It's great.
So I had a lot of fun watching it. I'll never intentionally watch it again. I will never be scrolling through and say, "Oh, the Barbie movie." That'll just never happen. And I instantly stopped thinking about it
Yeah. Yeah. I love
because
your
there was just
criteria,
nothing to
Simon.
think about.
It's very unique. Honestly, it's so unique. I love it. It's
So,
amazing.
yeah. So, yeah, my critique of the movie is not that it was bad filmmaking in the least. It was that it
Yeah.
was extremely forgettable when it's done.
You know
That's
what's
all.
funny about the fun part is I did watch the like behind the scenes making of it, and you're right. Those people were literally dying laughing making the movie.
Yeah.
Behind the director, Greta Gerwig, I think she was having so much fun making that movie. I just thought that's fun. that they enjoyed it. Because I would
Yeah.
imagine some of these movies are a real slog to get through. I would imagine, you know.
Oh, I'm sure. And some of the like, what's the name of the actor who's Ken, the main Ken?
Oh, Ryan Gosling. Yeah.
Ryan Gosling. He was so jacked for
Oh
that movie.
man, super jacked.
To be that jacked for a whole shoot, however long that shoot was,
Right.
and I know they plan out very carefully the shirt off days, but he had a lot of shirt off days.
Right. Right.
So to be that cut and lean and jacked for that long, he had to be miserable.
Yeah, exactly. He was pushing himself, man.
Any bodybuilder will tell you
Of
the
course.
cut phase leading up to competition, which is when the
Hmm.
camera's gonna roll,
That's
right?
right.
And that's
That's
for
right.
Ryan Gosling in this movie. When the days the camera's gonna roll on his, you don't sustain that look.
No,
Nobody
no,
does. Nobody does. The greatest bodybuilders in the world, they don't look the way they do on competition
no,
days the rest of
no.
the year. They don't. So to sustain that look for however long he had to for that shoot, he had to have been miserable.
It
But he looked like he was having a
looked
great
like
time.
he's
So that's
Knuff,
some good
okay?
acting.
He's
That's some
Knuff.
good acting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's back practicing the patriarchy, but he got disinterested when it
Yeah.
wasn't about horses.
So, I mean, I was thinking about that. Like, you think about maybe like Hugh Jackman has to get
Yeah,
so ripped and lean and cut
yeah.
for the Wolverine shirt off days. Well, he's Wolverine, so he gets to be in a bad mood the whole time.
Exactly. I actually interviewed with him. He said it was horrible. It's just so
Yeah.
much
Oh,
work involved, and and
because
he's
on
like a
those days
Tony
they
Award-winning
dehydrate
guy, and
themselves.
like, yeah,
They stop drinking water for like
yeah,
24 hours. I mean, they just feel miserable.
miserable. Yeah,
Miserable. And then they set these unrealistic expectations for,
yeah,
how a guy's physique should look. And it's
sure.
like, sorry, but I mean, I'm sure he's in great shape the rest of the rest of the
Right.
year, but he's not in that
No,
shape.
no. In fact, he says he's a big dance. He's a Broadway guy. He dances a lot, does a lot of musicals. That's kind
Yeah.
of his thing, is dancing. So and I know he's going back into playing Wolverine again, actually. I think with
Oh, isn't
Ryan
he doing the,
Reynolds
the
in
Deadpool movie?
Deadpool. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I don't know. It's a hit or miss for me. I'm gonna say.
Yeah, it's like I understand the appeal of the Deadpool movies, and I understand the appeal of the guy who plays Deadpool. Um, but he's the same in every movie that I've that
Okay,
I've
I was just
watched.
gonna say that, and actually, Ryan Reynolds is probably one of the more annoying actors to me,
Yeah.
because I feel like he's just playing Van Wilder every movie he's in.
No, see,
Literally,
I
that's
never
what I.
saw Van
That's
Wilder,
literally
but
Van
yeah.
Wilder every
Okay.
movie, or he's the guy in Waiting. The server. He's like the same guy,
Yeah.
and I feel like I wouldn't want to talk to him if he's like that, because it would annoy me to be that sarcastic constantly.
Yeah.
It's fine here and there, but not all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't want to say he's a bad actor because
Right.
he's probably a fantastic actor, but people hire him to be Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, that's right. That's
The
exactly
way
right.
they hire Harrison Ford to be Harrison
And
Ford.
Tom Cruise and stuff.
Yeah,
You're
you
gonna
don't
need
you don't
Tom
hire
Cruise.
those people to play a different kind of character. You hire them to
No.
to be themselves.
Yeah. No.
To
It's
to be
yeah.
the character that they have honed all these
Yes.
years, that they've
That's right.
crafted for themselves.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
All right. Do you have a third movie of we're in the third, right? Of worst.
Yeah. Okay. So my third one is actually I think it's a foreign film. It's called The Lemon Grove.
Okay.
And it's like an Italian movie. And I saw a preview for it, and I thought a small independent kind of Italian comedy, and the guy has a lot to say about language because he's
Yeah.
like if I remember correctly, he's like a linguistics professor or something like that. And when the guy's character on screen, and the guy wrote and directed and acted in it, it's one of those
Yeah.
kind of deals. And one of the people in it was Paulie from Rocky. I'm
No.
blanking on his name,
No,
but he's
really.
he's he's in it like
Wow.
the family patriarch or something,
Okay.
and I was like, hey, I'm gonna. And so the movie had so much potential in that way, like the writer, director, actor, he had stuff to say about language, interesting things to say about language and our human relationship with language and things like that. But those were the only good parts of the movie, when the guy would do a voiceover narrative
Yeah.
talking about language, and then the rest of the movie was this manic horror fest. I mean, when I say horror, I don't mean the genre horror. I just mean I was horrified by how bad it was. It was just
It was that bad?
oh, I was I just, it was one of those movies I thought maybe it's gonna get better, and it just kept getting worse. And I finally turned it off. And I just couldn't make it. I couldn't make it through the whole movie.
It's that
I
bad,
could not make it. And I did not survive the Lemon Grove.
You didn't
So
survive
if
it.
anybody sees that on Netflix or whatever, just pass it by.
Just pass it by. Yeah.
Yeah. It was
Sounds horrible.
it was just, I mean, if I can't survive through something, when I, because I feel like I'm very forgiving. I mean,
Yeah.
people might be surprised about that.
They're definitely surprised about it.
Yeah. But even when I have all these critiques of something, I'm still rooting for the little guy. So for the
Okay.
independent filmmaker who's, who's telling a story that they want to tell, they're not part of the Hollywood production thing, I'm just rooting for it to be good, and I will look past my criticisms to keep watching it if I think it's attempting to say something.
Yeah.
And I felt like the Lemon Grove is attempting to say something. It's just so bad that I can't sit through it. I can't sit through it to listen to it.
He couldn't do
Yeah.
it.
It'd be like Donald Trump reciting Shakespeare.
Oh
It's
my!
like, man, there's something really beautiful here, but I can't sit through it.
I don't
I
think you
can't.
get through 20 seconds of that.
No.
Like, oh, stop. Just please.
To be or not to be, or maybe to be. We don't know. We're looking at it. It could be to be, but probably not to be.
I mean,
But,
I'm sure he's never even read a lick of Shakespeare. I'm pretty sure. I mean,
yeah.
maybe Shake Shack. I mean,
All right, what's yours?
Oh, it's a bad one, man. I saved a great one for being bad. And actually, I'm not
Okay.
sure a lot of people have seen this. It came out not that long ago. It's called Discontinued. I wanted to like this movie so bad because it's kind of a okay. The premise is that this main character, this basically a college age woman, is very like not happy with her life. She's working a terrible job. She's just very unhappy. And she's like, what's this all about? And she gets a message that reality is actually a simulation, and that the creators of the simulation have decided to pull the plug in a week. But now everyone finds out through their own personal sentient AI that this is just a simulation. And I'm thinking in my mind, this could be pretty good.
Yeah,
It's actually
I like this
right.
premise.
This premise. So everybody's losing their mind. What are they going to do? They have a week left in the simulation. Blah blah blah. And the acting is so bad. It's so poorly written, and it's just they hired the worst actors. And the main character, this woman, it's like she's over. You ever seen someone's overacting? They're trying too hard when they're acting.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And it's like I don't mind like some really great F-bombs here and there. I love to like really hit it hard. It was like over the top. It was like this was put here for it wasn't necessary to curse this much. It's like you know what I mean? It's like, okay, I mean, it's just what is this? It was horrible.
Cursing loses its effectiveness.
Yes.
It's like putting an exclamation point at the end of every sentence. It's like, well, I'm not reading it like that anymore.
No. Yeah. It was just really poorly done, and a premise that sounds interesting, but really poorly executed. And my criteria when I start hating a movie is I start fast forwarding it. Once I start fast forwarding, it's over. It's like let's get to when they get rid of the simulation.
Yeah, because you're curious about.
Yeah, we just want to know.
What they're gonna get. It's like I want to know how they're gonna wrap this up, or how things are gonna turn out, but I'm not curious enough. I
don't want to see like the filler all the way through the rest of this. Just give me to the end.
Yeah, you feel like you bought the album because of the single you heard on the radio, and then
Yeah.
you find out the rest of the album's crap.
It's
They had one good song on the whole album.
right. Or it's like a preview of a movie. The trailer is so amazing, and you realize that was the only good part of the movie. Was the
Yeah.
truth, the parts
I've
of the
become
trailer.
I've become really pessimistic with trailers. I got to tell
Me
you, it's
too,
like
man.
I just won't even watch a trailer hardly anymore because you feel so lied to,
Yes.
you know?
Yes, Simon. You're so right about that.
You
You're
just
so
feel
right
like,
about that.
I mean, especially when they use clips in and you know, they make a trailer before the final cut of the movie's made. I
Exactly.
understand that, but a lot of scenes in the trailers they don't even make it to the
They're not
final
even in
cut
the
of the movie.
movie.
So then you're just like, where was that one part where they
Yeah.
did this or whatever? What you know?
I mean, it's like massive marketing, and it's like, let's pull you in with these great scenes that you'll actually never see. It's like,
I was explaining movie marketing from back in the day to my children, and I was using Jaws as an example.
yeah,
And I was
yeah,
saying Jaws had no expectations to be great, and it had no excuse to be great. There are so
right.
many movies based on the same kind of concept, you know, killer shark, killer gator,
Yeah,
killer whatever, Anaconda. I mean, all these
sure.
movies, and Jaws has. There's just no reason for Jaws to have been good except Steven Spielberg.
Yeah,
You know, I mean,
yeah,
that's really the only reason Jaws is good. Um, but the point I was making to my kids is that it's like maybe they had a trailer running before the movie in
yeah,
the movie theater. They didn't run like television promos for Jaws. Maybe there was something in the newspaper. I
yeah,
mean, you go
maybe.
to the movie section and there's going to be a poster for it and times at your local theater. That's like the promotion from back in the late 70s, early
Yeah,
80s up through probably the 90s, and then I think somewhere in like late 80s, early 90s, I feel like Hollywood started really hitting TV harder with trailers.
yeah,
And I think that is because of Jaws. Jaws created the summer blockbuster, and Hollywood realized if we can come up with a summer blockbuster, then we can make, all this, money. And so we got to hype these summer blockbuster
yeah.
movies. I think the summer blockbuster has gone away, don't you?
I agree. I don't feel it. I don't see it either. It just, a summer goes
Yeah.
by and you're like, nothing here, nothing to see here. I mean,
But I feel like Hollywood is still trying to produce the summer blockbuster, but
yeah,
they're trying to do it year round now.
yeah, that's right.
So it's not like, oh, you have these big tentpole movies in the summer, and then the rest of the year you have these smaller movies that may or may not make money,
Yeah, yeah,
and they're just taking a chance on it. But anymore, it feels like every month they're trying to shove another summer blockbuster down your
yeah.
throat, and it's
Uh,
like, I'm sorry, but I just can't, you know, I, I there are movies out right now that I really want to see, but I just don't get around to seeing them, and they're just kind of getting lost in the shuffle of all the other big movies out there. One movie I want to see and I just haven't made time for is that Godzilla '01, the Japanese one.
oh yeah, yeah. I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
I've just heard nothing but great things about it, that it actually has a story, that actually
Oh,
has
that's
human
good.
characters you care about, that it's not an American Godzilla movie in the least, or previous, Japanese Godzilla
Right.
movies where it's just so ridiculous and silly, you know. But it seems to actually be a movie with an awesome message and using
Yeah.
Godzilla in an interesting way
Right.
instead of.
Huh.
I tried to watch those latest Godzilla movies. I'm just like, what's going on?
I feel the same exact way. Like,
Like,
what is this?
what are we doing?
I don't think
I
they know what they're
know.
doing.
The
Like,
thing is that they do look really good.
they look
I mean,
good.
look,
They
like a
look
Zack
good.
Snyder film, they look
Exactly.
really good.
We're gonna say you got Snydered, man.
Yeah,
Like,
but it's like, some movies they just don't do enough. Those movies seem to be doing way, way too much.
yeah, yeah, for sure.
Way, way too much. And so I think this Japanese Godzilla Zero One, I think it's trying to take Godzilla to a much simpler
Yeah.
thing. Um, so anyway, I'm just interested to see it. But
Yeah. Well, a lot of movies now, there's no they don't. There's no pull. Like there's no pull for to go see it. Like I used to be a big movie theater person. Like I'm talking every week I was going to movie
Yeah.
theaters. I just don't go anymore. It's not because of the pandemic and the stuff in the past. It's just that like I don't feel the pull. Like I need to feel like pull me towards the theater to
Yeah.
go see this big screen experience. And I think the other thing is just that the scarcity of that is gone because you could just see it pretty quickly through a streaming platform. It goes on demand in like a month,
Yeah.
whereas like when we were growing up, I mean, it was a long journey to see that thing at home.
Oh
It
gosh,
was
yeah.
a long journey, man.
You were
You see in
waiting
the
months and
theaters,
months
it
after
was
the
over. Once it left the
yeah.
theaters, you were done for a long time.
Well, the theaters have to see that it's worth the distribution effort
Yeah,
back then.
back then, yeah.
Now with digital distribution, it's nothing.
Yeah.
Back then you're replicating VHS tapes,
Yeah.
millions of copies of these things. And if you're going to make that investment, you have to know that the movie did well.
That's right.
And then you have to start, plans for the production of the VHS and all that kind of stuff. And it's yeah, so it's this long, arduous process
Yeah.
back then to get things. But yeah, there was that anticipation. Oh, I can't wait. And
Anticipation.
there was such a disappointment when I missed seeing something in the theater that
Yes.
I wanted to back then. Now it's
Yes.
kind of like, oh well, I can just rent it, on
Yeah.
Amazon.
Well, this is a large problem, I think, with society. This is kind of a big, larger life issue is that we've many times over optimized society in developed countries where
Yeah.
there's a sweet spot, but I think we always jump over the sweet spot for convenience. And I'm a sucker for convenience too. It's not like I'm on my high horse here. It's like I like convenience like anyone.
Oh, absolutely.
But
Yeah.
there's a sweet spot where it's like, what if you could stay in that spot and really you would have better quality. Right. And I
Yeah.
just think I'm not sure studios care about that. It's just money. Just want to make money. It doesn't even matter if it's good. Just make money.
But from what I've heard, it's backfired on them too.
Yeah,
Like
it
they're
has.
they're
Yeah.
making these huge 200, 300 million
Yeah.
dollar movies and they're just not able to recoup their
Yeah.
investments on these things. It's like, well, when you oversaturate the market with every month there's multiple of these $300 million, $300 million,
Yeah.
things, and it's just like I'm sorry, but there's
Yeah.
for me to spend $15 just on my ticket,
Yeah.
like you said, there's got to be something about it that are just like, oh, I
Yeah.
have to see that
I
in the
have to see
theater,
this. Yeah.
but yeah, there's really not any of that.
There's none of that.
Not
No.
much anyway. I
Not
mean, not
much.
not much.
Yeah. Well, this is good. So let's talk about what's good from 2023. We've bashed
Yeah.
enough. So it's time for the best of 2023. Top 3.
Yeah. Do you want me to go first? You
You
want to
go
go first?
first, Simon.
Okay.
Let's get this.
I'm gonna go with something that I am uh that I started in 2023, but I haven't finished yet, and that
Okay.
is the latest series of Fargo.
Oh,
I
okay.
am really enjoying it.
Okay.
I
Okay.
am so I'm about halfway through it or whatever, and man, I think it's season 5 or whatever, and
Yeah.
it's got that little British girl from
Mm-hmm.
Ted Lasso
Yeah,
in
yeah.
it, and she is just killing it. I
Mm.
mean, she is nailing that,
Mm.
Dakota accent and everything the way that you're
Yeah,
supposed to
yeah.
in these movies and stuff. She is just anyway. A few of us in the family have been watching it, and I think my son Moses finished it all the way, so he's been trying not to spoil it for me,
Yeah.
but yeah, but we're talking about it. Okay, so once
Yeah.
again, that's the sign. You think about it and you talk about it. And in this series, there's not a lot of like messaging going on, at least this far in the series, and I don't expect that from a Fargo movie.
Sure.
They're not movies with like, I mean, they might be. I think they're all saying something, but it's not like this overt messaging movie, you
Yeah.
know, like the Barbie movie was.
Right. Right.
And what that is not a critique of it, by the way. Like, I am not against a movie with a really strong
Sure.
message, a movie that really wants to say something. I am all for it. But if I forget it quickly,
Yeah.
That's the only problem if I
Right,
forget it so
right.
quickly. So anyway, this Fargo series, I'll tell you my favorite things about them. I love it when they, especially in a series, so it's a longer run, when you can keep an aesthetic and a consistency of that aesthetic the entire time. You have characters who are don't feel like they're important when you first meet them, but now all of a sudden they're main characters and you're growing with them and you're learning about them as you go. And there's some obvious stuff in this latest uh, thing of Fargo about uh, Christian Christian nationalism and those
Mm,
kind of types like militia
I
mentalities and things
see.
like that. But it's not, at least so far, it hasn't been a bunch of guys like wearing MAGA hats and talking
Right,
about Donald Trump. And I
right.
just really appreciate that it's meant to be a timeless type of series. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Where it's like you can watch this 20 years from now, at least from how I'm watching it, and you don't need cultural context and you don't need a bunch of guys talking about very specific things that are happening right now in our society. No, you don't need that. What you have is people talking about more timeless issues, and that Christian nationalism, while it's at least so far is not portrayed in a good light, and I wouldn't expect that from the
No.
showrunners, it also is not, they're not made into like cartoons. It's taken seriously,
It's
I
taken
suppose.
seriously. Yeah.
Yeah. And they're not just a bunch of idiots.
Yeah. Oh,
So
interesting. Very interesting. I like that. That see, that's gonna pull me towards watching that. I'm gonna
yeah.
go, okay, I have to check that out because that sounds really amazing, actually. That's good.
So yeah, that's a series that I've just really enjoyed. All right, what's your first one?
I think mine are gonna be very off the wall. All
All
of
right.
mine. Most of them
All
will be
right.
off the wall. I'm gonna my really excellent show that I watched this year came out of left field for me, and it's a anime based
Mm,
series. That makes it very different. It's
I
called
love it.
Scavenger's Reign, and it's
I
on
haven't
HBO
heard of it.
Max. It just kind of popped up on Max during the year, and I was like, "What is this?" Like, and actually, the reason I ended up watching it is because someone sent me an article about it. Like this is like really groundbreaking sci-fi for anime. I was like, "Oh, I'm a sucker for sci-fi and blah blah blah." As I started watching, I was like, "This is unbelievable."
Mm,
Basically, the premise is that this ship, the Demeter, the spaceship, crash lands on this planet. I can't remember the planet, Vespa or something like that, but it's this exotic, beautiful, incredibly dangerous planet that
mm,
these people survive or have to try to survive and get back to the ship, which they've brought down to the planet to try to escape the planet. And for an anime, there's so many deep conversations that
mm.
happens with the dialogue is excellent. It's excellent for an anime. It's incredible. I was like,
Yeah.
wow, this is so much depth about you're on an alien planet, but they never talk about aliens. They never talk about, oh, well, this space travel and the mechanics of space travel. It's all about like surviving this planet, which is so beautiful, but it's also so dangerous. And they talk a lot about kind of the cycle of living and dying and going
Mm.
through their lives and what their lives have meant and all this. And then it's just really strange and very psychedelic all at the same time. It's like all my favorite stuff.
That's
It's
awesome.
like,
That sounds incredible.
oh man. And it's just like their journey to get back to the ship and the hardship they face. And then each of the characters is going through something very existential.
Mm,
And it's beautifully shot like a Zack Snyder movie, just anime, but it has the depth of a really well written movie or show for that
mm,
in anime format. It's mind blowing. I loved every second of it. I thought this is in like 8 or 9 episodes, no, 10 episodes, and it just really pulled me in the entire time. I said, "Wow, this is And it actually pulled me towards wanting to find more anime like that, which when it's my turn again, a next one I have is also an anime because of that for the year. And I
Awesome.
said, man, somebody's doing something in this space that's incredible. So I highly recommend it on HBO Max. It just came out maybe like a couple months ago. And
Hmm.
it's just
I
really
have to check that
beautiful.
out.
Yeah, it's Simon, I think you'd like it. But I also felt compelled to watch it too because I love ambient swim on HBO Max just for mood, music, and visuals.
Okay.
And it's a very like psychedelic, like techno, psychedelic, ambient, ethereal music and with videos. And full disclosure for everyone, I when my buddies came up a couple of summers ago, we did a gigantic heroic dose of psychedelics, and I had this on in my house, and it was so moving and gripping,
Hmm.
and it just set the scene. Really amazing. It's on HBO Max. I'm
Interesting.
telling you, and you would never think about it if you saw it, but incredible.
Man, that sounds so good. It really does. That's it's funny because I actually have an anime for you.
Really?
And it didn't come
Oh,
out in 2023. So sorry, I think I had something here. Two my other two movies it didn't come out in 2023.
yeah, yeah.
So, but
One of
I
mine
saw
didn't
them then.
either.
Yeah. Howl's Moving Castle. Have you
Ooh,
seen
what is
that?
that?
Really, really difficult to describe.
Whoa.
It's been revoiced by Hollywood actors. So like Christian Bale is one of the
Oh,
voices.
okay.
I think Emily Blunt,
Mm-hmm.
is that right? I think she's one of the actors in it. Um, to describe any part of it is really really difficult and feels like a spoiler, so I don't want to
Okay.
spoil
Okay.
anything because I would say don't even read any descriptions or things about it. Just go in and watch it without knowing anything
Ooh.
because I feel like it's just a movie that I went into it knowing nothing about it. I'd never read a description or anything, and um, I was just continually surprised the entire way through the movie.
Huh.
Like from beginning to end, I was just surprised. And
Huh.
I loved that about this movie. That was just like at every turn or plot point or things like that, I was just I was like, okay, didn't see that coming, didn't see this coming, with the character arcs and all the different things, it's like it's a weird, cool movie. Watch it when you're high. It's awesome.
Yeah, I love that.
you know.
That's a definite.
So yeah, just go and
What service is on, or is it on demand, or what is it?
I think we watched it on Amazon, but I can't remember if we
Okay.
rented it or not.
Okay.
So we tend to just rent everything on
Is it a
Amazon if we
series?
can't find it. No, it's actually just
It's just a
one
movie?
movie.
One
Yeah,
movie?
it's just a
Okay.
movie. But yeah, it's so good, so good.
Wow. I mean, this
So,
is very mysterious, Simon. I mean, you gave nothing. You literally gave nothing.
I just I want people to have that experience I had, and to the point of the trailers. Like sometimes you might start watching a trailer. It's like stop, you're giving me too much.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like I don't want to see the whole movie.
Yeah.
I want to go in the movie and I want to experience it for the first
Mm.
time watching it. I don't want to experience the whole movie in a 3-minute long trailer and
Yeah.
then go see the movie and be like, yeah, I mean, the trailer was better because it did the same thing. It just took less time. It's
They
like, yeah, all the
microwaved it
good
for
parts
you.
were in the trailer,
Yeah.
so it's like, yeah. So
Wow.
anyway, I love going into something blind. That's how I went into some of my favorite things like Midnight Mass. I went into
Yeah,
completely
same
blind.
here. Yeah.
I didn't read anything about it. I had no idea what it was
You're
about.
right about that. Yeah, same for me with that. Yeah.
And I just love that experience. I love it.
Yeah. All right, my this is an anime deal here.
All
My
right.
next one is Pantheon. Did not come out in
Pantheon.
2023. This is a special show. This is special. I will give away, so I will give the premise away for it. I was referred to this because of Scavenger's Ring, actually, on a Reddit
Hmm.
board. Crazy. And it said, if
Hmm.
you like Scavenger's Reign, you will love Pantheon. So I said, oh, I gotta check
Okay.
this out. It was very difficult to find, but Amazon Prime, you have to rent it. And then season two, you can't even rent it. I'm not gonna lie, I used a VPN to watch season two.
There you go. Hey,
I had
that's
to
what they're
figure
there
out I
for.
needed this. The pull was strong. I needed to watch season two.
That's
But
awesome.
essentially, it's about this family who this mother and a daughter, and they lose their husband. He has a terminal disease, and he works for this company called Logarithms, where they are experimenting with UI, uploaded intelligence, so uploading
Hmm.
consciousness into the cloud, the internet, whole thing. That's the premise, and it's very emotional. It's very deep, and there's just a lot of questions of what does it mean to be human,
Hmm.
and what happens. How do you remain a human being if you live inside a computer? That's it.
Hmm.
And it's just a lot of stuff, a lot of issues, the government, the religion, family, how you stay connected to your humanity when you're in digital form, all these things, power, corruption,
Hmm.
lying, secrecy. It's like, it's just amazing. And the anime is extremely well done. Visually, it's beautiful, but the questions they ask are very compelling. And I find
Hmm.
myself thinking about those questions. A big question, immortality. What would it mean if you were a virtual god? I mean, it's big. A lot of big questions. Yeah.
Interesting, man. Sounds really good.
It's so good.
One of the things you just said reminded me of on New Year's Eve. I'm in the kitchen and I'm making our New Year's Eve dinner, and I made beef carnita street tacos,
Hmm.
basically, and for everybody else, and I made myself
Sure. Yeah.
enchiladas, bean and cheese enchiladas.
Sure.
But anyway, I'm sitting in, well, I'm in the kitchen doing all that, and Rainbow comes in and she's just sitting in there and we're just chatting. And I turn to her and I say, okay, Rainbow, you are the goddess of the entire world, but you can only give humanity one commandment, just one. What do you tell them? And she thought for a second, and then she said, skirts and shorts cannot be worn higher than 2 inches above the knee.
Okay.
I died laughing. I mean, she was doing a joke, right? But
Yeah.
I mean, I thought that was the most brilliant thing. I thought that was the most brilliant takedown of like the warped um emphasis on the wrong thing that we
Yeah.
have with like religion, and what
Yeah.
religion so oftentimes claims God cares about.
Yeah.
I thought that was, and I don't think she wasn't trying to, make any commentary with that joke. She just thought
Yeah.
it would be funny. But man, that was the best commentary
Yeah.
on that kind of stuff that I was like, that was perfect. And I was in tears. I was laughing so hard.
It's great. It's a different answer, that's for sure. It's an alternative answer there. I love that.
Oh
That's These are
man,
big questions though out
it
there, and
cracks me
I'm
up.
a big question guy. Like I find
Yeah.
myself being pulled towards the bigger the question, the more depth it has, the more meaning it has. I would like to understand that and try to like grapple with it, and
Yes.
any movie or show that does that for me, I'm totally in. I'm totally in.
Mm.
I mean, I like stuff blowing up too here and there, but like if I really like want to love a movie, it's got to have a lot of meat to it for me. If I just
Yeah.
want to turn my mind off, whatever. What I mean? Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Some movies are like that. They're just
yeah,
popcorn,
yeah,
whatever. And they're not meant to be. They're not trying to be
yeah,
anything more than that, you
right.
know.
But they'll never
Um,
be in my greatest hits. They're just something for whatever.
yeah.
Like I when I'm high, it's very difficult for me to watch something that I need to pay attention to a lot.
Hmm.
which is I'm not really trying to watch something super moving when I'm high, but
Yeah.
but I if I want to like really zero in and really love it, it's gotta challenge me personally. I want to feel that challenge personally.
So my I have a tie for my
Okay.
so um and they're two, I don't think either movie came out in 2023.
Hmm.
But they came out recently within the last couple of years, and it was I Am Mother,
Yeah.
and it was Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Oh man, love that movie.
That's the I gave those a tie because I think I've been thinking about them both, so much.
Yeah.
And because they're movies that do what you're talking about, they ask big, big, big
Yeah.
questions. And but they do so in such an entertaining way. And Everything Everywhere All at Once was another one of those movies that I thought I basically knew what it was about, but it
Yeah.
surprised me the whole way through.
Mm.
Like, I mean, sometimes it just surprised me with the comedy.
Yeah.
It's like I did
Yeah.
not see her using her dog as a on a leash with as a weapon. I
Yeah.
did not see that coming. The performances of all the actors, I thought they were some of the best. I mean,
Was
I
excellent.
know they won a bunch of Oscars for that,
Hmm.
and I don't know exactly who all won what awards for that movie, but everybody in it was worthy. Everybody in it was giving such an amazing
Yeah.
performance, and um, Michelle Yeoh has been one of my favorite actresses for decades.
For a long time, man. Like a
Yeah,
really long time. She's been hitting it hard.
and she was already in one of the movies that I consider top three, and that's Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
Love that movie. Love it.
She and Chow Yun Fat, I feel like as a human race, we deserved more of them collaborating
Yeah.
together in
Yeah.
movies. Their on-screen chemistry and their scenes together are some of my
Beautiful.
favorite scenes in all time in
Yeah.
cinema.
I
And,
totally
and
agree.
some of them they're just quiet scenes, them sitting and having tea together.
Yeah.
I'm a sucker for that stuff when it's two amazing actors playing off each other.
Yeah.
So anyway, so yeah, but Michelle Yeoh she's just incredible. She's still doing so much of this action stuff, and she's
Yeah.
got to be 60, 60. I don't know what she
And
is, but
destroying it. Like, I mean,
yeah,
just the beauty and the grace of the
yeah.
violence.
And one of these people that are just like, we were actually just having that conversation, and I won't spoil what we were talking about because I don't think you've seen it, uh, but we were talking about how it's fine in a superhero movie when you have like 100-pound woman
Yeah.
overpowering a 250-pound man, but it's not when a movie is trying to suck me in with some kind of realism, and they have one of these super petite women just beating up a bunch of guys that are
Yeah.
twice their size. It's not. People will hear me say that and they'll think it's a gender thing. It's not a gender thing.
Yeah.
That's why in boxing you have and wrestling
Of
you have
course.
weight classes. The featherweight doesn't fight a heavyweight. It's just
No.
unfair. The featherweight might win on points, but if that heavyweight
It's
connects,
dangerous.
it's over. Yeah. And
Yeah.
so you just don't put those two things in the ring. So anyway, but my point is that Michelle Yeoh is one of these exceptions to the rule where I am so convinced that she's able to do what she does in
Yeah.
these
Yeah.
movies. She
Amazing.
is, and she's so tiny. She's a
She's
dancer.
so tiny.
She's so
Yeah.
tiny, but when she starts kicking ass in a movie, I'm like, I'm all in on this
I'm in,
Michelle
man.
Yeoh. Every time. Anyway, go
Man.
on.
I'm gonna do a
What's
tie
yours?
too. You did a tie. I'm allowed to do a tie.
Do
Okay.
it. Do it.
Actually, one of my favorite series of the year was The Fall of the House of Usher on
I still
Netflix.
haven't gotten around to watching it, and I
Holy
keep meaning
cow,
to.
man. You know,
I
listen,
keep
this
meaning
is
to.
Simon and I talked about this. I honestly think Mike Flanagan is one of our great directors of our time. He is just magical. What he did with Midnight Mass, the weird take on vampirism was so mind blowing
Yeah,
because it wasn't really about it. It was crazy. This guy knows how to create horror and substance and incredible dialogue. And like the dialogue in a Mike Flanagan series is like 8 billion times up most dialogue. And it is so deep. Like even like and before I get to Fall of House Usher and Midnight Mass, that scene where the lady and the guy are talking about God and existence and what happens after you die on the couch and
yeah,
stuff. This is one of the best scenes I've ever seen talking about
yeah.
that. It has so much depth. It's so emotional. It's incredible. But Fall of the House of Usher,
And
very similar.
and if I could interrupt you just real quick, one of my favorite things about that scene is that though the people in the conversation, they do not agree. Their
That's
worldview,
right.
their view of what happens after death and things like that, they don't agree, but they're not arguing.
Correct.
They're presenting their and I always just think, eh, why don't we have more scenes like that in movies? Why don't we have more scenes like that in real life where we are just, I mean, I can't tell you how many times that people have been upset with me
Mm,
for just stating something that is, I mean, how many times have been people have been upset with me for quoting the Bible
right.
when they're Christian and they think the
Right.
Bible is, infallible. And
Right.
I'm just like, and then I'll quote it and they're mad at me. It's like,
Crazy.
well, you just don't believe. It's like, well, I don't believe what you're saying because the
Yeah.
Bible says otherwise. But
No, I don't believe what you're saying. That's
yeah, I mean, but I mean, you can accuse me of whatever you want, but so anyway, I just feel like why can't we just have a conversation?
yeah.
I My
It's so
favorite
well done.
conversations are conversations in which they're debates. We're debating
Yeah.
an issue. We're both presenting things. We disagree. That's awesome. We might even be passionately disagreeing with each
Right.
other. I might because I might think whatever you're saying is absolutely ridiculous, and here's why.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean you're a bad person, I'm a bad person. It doesn't mean,
No.
this, that, and the other. It doesn't mean I get to tell you what to believe or how you should believe or what you
Yeah.
should do with your life or anything like that. We just get to exchange ideas and argue the validity of those ideas,
Yeah.
and then we can shake hands and be friends. It's like,
Yeah.
what's wrong with that? What's wrong with, and especially like two people who, the characters that you were talking about in Midnight Mass, they're two characters that are supposed to be like the romantic leads
That's
of
right.
the
Yeah.
movie. Well, things don't turn out, but
No.
for them,
No.
things don't work out. But the point of what we're saying is that, um, they don't reconcile in their belief. They don't come to like, oh, you were right or I was right or
Yeah.
this,
Yeah.
that, or the other. No, they're just two people who care deeply about each other,
Yeah.
and they care about what the other person thinks and believes, and they don't need to change them to continue appreciating
That's
and
right.
loving the other person.
That's
So,
exactly right. No, it's well said, Simon. And I think The Fall of the House of Usher, it's like I feel like they have nothing to do with each other, but I feel like they're part of a series of
mm,
things that he produces that are must see because
mm,
there's a thread within them that feels so like, man, I know these aren't the same thing, but like it feels like they could be. It's like almost like an anthology, and you're like, well, it's just one big thing, and there's a lot of different versions of it. And that guy knows how to wrap up a show, man. I mean, like he's just so good at
mm.
the ending. The endings of Mike Flanagan series are so satisfying, and they're so
That's rare.
surprising. There's some like I know we're going back to this again, but just like that last episode of Midnight Mass, maybe one of my favorite last episodes of a show. And just like
Oh
especially
yeah,
the crazy zealous lady, overly religious lady, and just what she does at the end when the sun
yeah.
is unbelievable. I mean, she breaks quick, man. She trying to get under that sand, it's like,
She was amazing. The
Oh,
actress who portrayed her, the character itself, she was easy to hate. Um,
yes.
she uh, but I mean that as a compliment.
Yes. Yes.
That might sound like they've made an incredibly simple villain, and she's not simple.
No.
Her
No.
motivations are not simple. When you start really thinking about what she is able to accept because of her zealousness,
Yes.
what she is able to accept, how she is able to change her worldview and change her view of her own religion and things like
Yeah.
that in order to continue to be zealous about her faith and about her belief. Anyway, it's commentary without ever having to say it out loud.
Yes. It's masterful. And I honestly feel like House of the Follow the House of Usher is very similar. Just the characters are so well developed, but it's a different format for the movie. Essentially, you know what happens in the beginning, and the rest of the series tells you how it happened for it.
Mm,
And those are different ways of telling a story. And Mike Flanagan's the master at this
yeah.
stuff. He's just so. I feel like he has arrived. He's so good at what he does. And he and Zack Snyder have contracts with Netflix, and Zack Snyder's big, over the top, Rebel Moon, world building.
Yeah.
Mike Flanagan's down here, just pumping out masterpieces underneath
Mm,
the water. It's just it's a stunning show. I got my wife into it, and she was so thirsty for this show. I mean, she's we gotta watch this tonight. We have to finish this. It's so good. And I felt the same way. And that was the whole thing. It made me want to watch it. I couldn't wait to finish my last training session to run upstairs to watch the next episode.
that's awesome. I
That's a
love that.
great show
Yeah.
for that, which was also tied with I love the Silo on Apple TV. I was
Oh, I've
very
seen
big.
the little thing for that, but I haven't watched it.
Acting, excellent. The story is so good. And it's one of
Mm,
those apocalyptic things. And it also has a very kind of religious overtone to it and society building. And what would life be like if you were the last people on the planet in this silo that's 144 levels and no one knows how they got there? And the mystery
mm.
behind it is so strong. And the detective, it's a detective story, essentially. Why are we here?
I love detective stories.
Right? Why are we here? Why doesn't anybody know why the silo is here? Are there other people
Yeah.
outside of this? Like all these big questions type of thing.
Mm.
And Apple TV, I mean, they
Existential
knocked it out of the
questions,
park.
man. I love
They
it.
knocked it out of the park. I was like, this is a hell of a show, man. It's great.
That's awesome. The problem with these, streaming services is that I feel like so many of the best series go under the radar because
Yeah.
there's not really a good way to advertise them. I mean,
Yeah, right.
YouTube is probably the best way or social media, but it's difficult, and the only way to make money is to get people to either subscribe
Yeah.
or stay subscribed, and it's like, man, are enough people really subscribing to these things
Yeah.
to be able to keep, like, I have no idea how Netflix can do movies like Rebel Moon, where it's like,
Yeah. It's a
or
lot of money.
Amazon with what was the big series they did last year? I didn't watch the Hobbit one, but it's like a
Oh,
prequel to the
yeah.
Lord of the
Yeah.
Rings or something.
Yeah. These are big productions, man.
They spend so much money on these
Yeah.
things, and it's like, how are you? I mean, Amazon has
I
all the
get
money in the
Amazon
world,
more.
so,
Yeah. I mean, and they have some
but
hits with the boys and stuff like that. I mean, they
yeah.
have some monster hits on their service.
But they're
But
making
Netflix?
money. Amazon is making money on so many levels,
Right.
and
What's
Netflix,
Netflix doing?
yeah, I just don't feel like, so I don't know how they're making this big budget original content, and I don't
Yeah.
know how they're recouping their investment, but hopefully they are. Hopefully they keep
Yeah.
making, content. I just, maybe not more Rebel Moon.
No.
And it's like,
No.
go smaller. I
Just
just,
go
that's what I
smaller.
want to tell every studio out there, go smaller, spend
Agreed.
less.
Agreed.
I mean, do something on a shoestring budget and tell a director, you know, this is what you have. Be creative.
Yeah.
I feel like Everything Everywhere All at Once was like
Yeah.
that. I have no
Yeah.
idea what the budget on that was, but I can't imagine it was big.
Yeah.
But they did such awesome like retro technology,
Yes,
like
right.
technology that looked like the graphics look so
Yeah.
90s. They look like they're
Yeah.
off of Sega Genesis or something,
Yeah. That's
and
right.
and they spent money where it mattered. And then they said, for other stuff, they're just like, yeah, we don't need this. I
Yeah.
mean, let's do the whole movie practically, within this IRS building,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and a laundromat.
And a
These are two
laundromat. Yeah.
places that don't require, you know, huge expensive sets,
Yeah.
but they are real sets, which is much appreciated in an
Much
effects heavy
appreciated.
movie like that. To have real sets is just so nice.
Yeah.
To feel like people are actually interacting with their space instead of interacting with a laser pointer is so nice. And they made all the right choices, like that Raccoon-Tui or something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I was laughing so hard about that because I'm sure a lot of people felt like this. I thought that was a throwaway joke, and everything in that
Yeah.
movie was like that. Everything I thought was just a throwaway would never come back, came back.
Yeah.
And it was, and not in a forced way, but in a way that was so entertaining and so surprising, and just like, oh my gosh, you took this throwaway joke and you made something brilliant and meaningful with it.
Most definitely. You're
I mean,
totally
just
right.
the everything bagel at the center of the
Everything
story
bagel. Yeah.
is
Yeah.
just like this throwaway gag.
Yeah.
Oh, it's an everything bagel. Oh,
Yeah.
I mean, in lesser hands, that would have been so dumb.
Yeah.
It would
Totally
have been
agree.
so stupid, and there would have been this kind of like the kind of acting where they're kind of almost winking at the camera because
Yeah.
we all
Yeah.
we all know it's dumb. There was none of that in this movie. Everything was all in. Everybody's all in on everything, and it
Yeah.
was just brilliant.
Yeah.
Just brilliant.
Man.
Um, I don't even know how much time we have. Do we have any
Yeah,
time
like
left?
10 minutes. Yeah.
Okay. I was gonna say something about Everything Everywhere because somebody who I watched it with loved it, but had a hard time with it as well.
I
And we had
see.
a very long conversation about it, and um, they felt kind of attacked because they felt like they were the Michelle Yeoh character,
Mm.
and they were just like, and they felt like the movie was telling the Michelle Yeoh character that she has to act or be like more like everybody else, and that she's wrong. It's
Yeah.
like, man, I just don't agree with that assessment. I feel like
Yeah.
she was told that she is much more than what she thinks she is,
Right.
and that she's the hero of the story, but she incorporates things. And everybody else, I mean, I cried so many times in that movie.
Great movie, man.
I mean, just
Beautiful.
tearing up constantly and then cracking up and then tearing up and then cracking up.
It's a great ride, man.
It's a movie where you have villains, but they're not villains.
Hmm.
I mean, everybody has a character arc. Everybody grows. I mean, there are just kind of like henchmen type people in it, don't
Sure.
get me wrong. But even those kind of like henchmen type characters kind of they have a story arc that kind of
Hmm.
they just all, oh my gosh, I get mixed up in my words just talking about it because there's so much. But the point I was making with this other person is that Michelle Yeoh, at the end of the day, her character is the hero, but she goes on this wild hero's journey, just
Yeah.
absolutely wild hero's journey. And unlike the way the hero's journey is presented in so many other things, but what makes the movie so different is that well, as it turns out, every character in the whole thing is on a hero's journey.
Yeah. That's right.
And it's just like, oh my gosh, everybody in this movie has a redemptive story arc. Everybody in this movie becomes relatable, becomes lovable, becomes somebody that you're just rooting for and
Yeah.
that you want to see succeed, you know. And it's just incredible. I feel like tearing up right
I
now
know
about it
you're
because
so into
I
this. I
just
love
I
this. It's
it
incredible.
that's my kind of feel good movie. People talk
Yeah.
about feel good movies and they're all
Yeah.
like these Hallmark
Oh.
channel, you know, bullshit. That's not a feel good movie for me. That's an insulting movie.
It's an
And I
insulting,
don't feel good
stupid
watching it.
movie. Yeah.
I feel like the movie makers think that I'm an idiot, and
Yeah. Yeah.
I just feel insulted. Everything Everywhere All
Yeah.
at Once takes me seriously, takes its premise seriously, takes
Yeah.
its characters, takes every single character seriously,
Yeah.
takes you on this wild, unpredictable, hilarious, tear-filled ride,
Yeah.
and makes you feel like a better person for having seen it,
Yeah.
for
That's
having
yeah.
participated with it.
Participated. And movies are like, I think you said a long time ago, movies are just, it's like a mirror for reflection of your own life. And you connect to that.
Yeah.
And these
Oh
type of
boy, did I
movies,
feel all the
oh,
mirrors.
yeah, exactly,
I
right?
was just
I
like, oh
want the
no, that's
feels.
me. Oh
I
no.
want the feels. Like I deeply
Yeah.
want the feels. I don't care if it's anime, live action. I don't know whatever format, just give me the feels. Like I
Uh,
want to feel alive when I watch this.
And I want a movie to show me that I'm wrong too.
Yeah.
Isn't that a beautiful feeling when a
Yeah,
movie teaches you something and you realize you
most
were wrong
definitely.
about something and you're just like, wow, I think I was wrong about that and I have to view my life differently now. And I have to
Yeah.
view the lives of other people. I think that's actually probably even more important. I view the lives of
Yeah.
other people differently now because I realize so often I mean, going back to the point of how everybody in that movie has a redemptive story arc,
Yeah.
um just view everybody in your life like that. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the difficult thing, and it's the thing that I forget all the time, to forget that every single person around me is on their own hero's journey, and
Yeah.
sometimes they're the bad guys. Like in my life particularly, I might view them, it's like you're the bad guy,
Hmm.
but I'm not seeing the journey they're on.
That's right. It actually, Simon, I think we've talked too much. We have a very similar mind. Like our mind is like melding. It's there's some mind transfer happening.
Yeah.
I was telling Michelle the other day, I was like, isn't it amazing? Like right now, all this humanity is colliding with each other all over the planet. All
Mm,
these different people's lives are intersecting, or this person's going there, they're driving here, this person's experiencing unbelievable joy. At the same time, someone in the world, many people in the world are experiencing gut wrenching, just pain and suffering. And all this humanity is just colliding and exploding every second, every moment of the day. And we're
mm.
part of this incredible life. And I was like, and I said, and she asked me, what's your kind of vision for 2024? Is like to understand that more. It's just to be a part of the people and to realize that every person I run into and every experience, I don't know what's actually happening in their existence. I'm just getting a literal snapshot, which
Yeah.
is why I like to talk to people, because I want more of that. I want more of the feels. I need to know what you're feeling. What's your
Yeah.
existence? And I can't have a good idea of your existence if I'm not in it on some level. And it depends on what I want to do, if I want to be in that person's life more. But how can I understand it if I don't experience it more? One of the greatest experiences I had in 2023 was taking my daughter to RuPaul's Drag Race in Las Vegas for her 12th birthday,
Tell me about that. I love
because it
that.
was so
So great.
amazing. And it didn't change anything for me in terms of that. I love people who do drag. I love LGBTQ. It's never been a thing for me, because I subscribe to a very beautiful belief. Geez, just love people, man. It's like I
Yeah.
never think other things about it. But to see the joy of all these people in there of watching this show, and then looking around the room and seeing a lot of people who on the outside you would think would never go to a show like that, who were from Tennessee, Indiana, Alabama, Oklahoma, because they asked people where they're from. They're like, oh,
Mm,
this is the real existence for this,
Yeah.
not the garbage that's being told out there. There may be some of that, but listen, some dude in Central Arkansas is loving RuPaul. I promise you.
Yeah.
You just can't be like that in Arkansas,
Yeah.
or Oklahoma, which is so sad to me. Or that.
It is sad when somebody tells you you can't be who you feel you are. It's the
Yeah.
saddest.
It's so sad.
It's the saddest thing. At the same time, I recognize how many ways I need to change and evolve,
Yeah.
but that's something that I need to come to terms with, and people can help me and teach me along the way. Um, but we're not talking about our, you know, personal ethics and things like that. We're
Yeah.
talking about identity, which has
Yeah.
nothing. People mix that up. They
Right.
think that identity has something to do with ethics, and it's like, no. If you identify as Republican, Christian, atheist,
Yeah.
LGBTQ plus, anything in that range, or anything outside of that, that has yet to be defined or
Right.
quantified,
Yeah.
then that is not a judgment on your ethics or
No.
morality. And I apologize about my dog.
No,
I
it's
don't know
okay.
how loud that is. He's actually just excited that one of my kids just came home, but
Oh, that's awesome.
from work. So he's just
He's
barking
like,
because he
yes,
just
yes,
loves so much. Yeah.
yes, yes. It's deep.
I wanted to add just one thing to what
Yes.
you were saying, which I love your thing for 2024 experience.
Yeah.
Experience with other people, get deep, go deep, and do these things. And I was just thinking to myself this morning, actually, for 2024, is that I'm not going to allow people to bore me.
That's such a you thing, man. I'm with you on that, by the way. Very much with you.
So sometimes I'm just really too patient and allow people to bore me. And there's just no reason for that. And I think you know, I just,
It's a great
I
line,
want,
man.
I want to, I want to interact with everybody. I want to interact with all ideas, but my one criteria is that you do not bore me.
I'm so with you on that.
And the number one way you can bore me is by being dogmatic about anything.
Right.
About
Right.
anything. If you're
Okay.
dogmatic about something, I'm bored.
Oh, I love it. Simon, you're awesome, man. Seriously, this is always fun and always not boring. Definitely not boring. I laugh a lot, I think a lot, and I'm excited to text you about coming up here next month or so about spending some time in person with you, man.
That's gonna be awesome. I'll take you seriously.
Yeah. Take me seriously. Stop messing with me. Like, oh, I didn't think you were serious. I'm like, ouch. Ouch.
No, it's like
I know a lot of people say stuff in life. I understand.
people say, "Oh, I want to come visit," and then it never happens.
I'm a pretty reliable person. I mean, I think I'm one of the more reliable people I know in my life. I mean, I
Probably.
trust myself that much. I really
would put
do.
myself on the opposite side of that spectrum.
Simon.
I'm just saying.
I'm just saying. Like,
I'm being honest here. I'm being honest.
Be honest.
I'm just not.
Yeah.
I'm not reliable. I'm just not. Don't count on me.
I mean,
just
definitely
don't do
count on me. Like I'm definitely one of those people. They're very quirky in that way. Like I just like this is the whole edible thing. Like I just don't want to be like that sometimes. And I don't want it to sound like, arrogant. It's not that. It's just like, it's hard. It's been like that since I was a little kid. It's hard for me to just not be productive and try to like accomplish something, do this, do that. I'm like, I just don't want to give a shit for a little bit. It's like,
I love that.
That's my whole basis for it. I was like, I
love it.
Yeah. It's so, yes, you can count on me. Simon, From the guy who didn't believe I was serious. Okay.
Over the Christmas holiday, my kids kept laughing because I kept singing, "I've got a friend in me." I've got a friend in me. Nobody else wants to be my friend. I've got a friend in me.
There you go. There you
That's
go.
me.
Man. Oh, you have a friend in me too, so for sure, man. I deal with it. I'm a very patient person.
You are a very patient person. I'll try not to bore you.
No, it's never boring. I would never. Yeah. No, I'm not taking that either. Believe me. Thank you so much, my friend. I really appreciate you.
Thank you, man. Love you. Happy New Year.
Yeah, man. Love you too, man.
Love to you and the family.
Same here, man. And 2024, I think it's gonna be pretty good. Regardless of what happens, of what the world say is gonna happen, I'm gonna have a great time. I'm gonna tell you that right now, man.
We're gonna die laughing.
It could be, man. All right, man. Thank you so much.
All right.